I'm sure everyone is looking forward to this. Navigating job hunting after a layoff. This is
Mm.
significant. It says the grind and mental game of job searching. Very first question. How did you motivate yourself to start looking again?
Mm. That's a deep one, to be fair. Like, I love the way you put it, the grind and mental game of job searching. It's really a mental game, you know. It's a struggle. It's like you're gonna have to do an uphill task to pull yourself out of that deep emotional struggle to get yourself back to the normal or at least a reasonable level where you can come off strong when you're interviewing for the next job opportunity. And I tell you, one of the biggest challenges I had was writing my resume. How do I structure my resume? How do I tell them that I have this much gap within this period of time? Right? So that became something that I needed to learn. I needed to get used to that old situation. I needed to tell myself it happened. So you can't start the process without acceptance. I need to tell people this is a sad part of it. I don't know how people do it. If anyone must have done that before without acceptance, I don't know how you successfully did that. But I'm speaking from a personal experience. You need to get to a point of acceptance before you can start this process because you need that level of acceptance. You need to get to that point where you're able to tell your own story. Even if you're going to tell the next person that, oh, you didn't have a job because, I mean, you had this much gap because you lost your job or you got laid off, it means you're saying you've gotten to the point of acceptance and you're willing to restructure your life again. If you're gonna blur that part of your life out, you still need to get to a point of acceptance to know that that part of my life is gone. I don't want to tell this as part of my story anymore. So either way, it's a real mental game. It's a lot of motivation on your part and a lot of motivation from outside. So both internal and external motivation need to come together to pull you out of that mental state for you to start applying for job.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. That's it. For me,
yeah.
it's interesting because for 2 months, like I said, I was depressed. I was going in and out of a hole. My friend, like I said, had come visited. She only stayed for a few days and went back. She had to go back to her husband, right? So from the second month, when I saw the date, I was laid off February 15th. When it was April 15th, I started panicking. I'm like, oh my goodness, 2 months have flown by so fast, and I had done nothing, absolutely
Mm.
nothing. So I panicked. I called my friend. I called a priest who is a friend, and I said, I cannot continue like this. And they were a bit worried. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've not been able to do anything. 2 months have gone by so fast. I don't think I can continue like this. Thankfully, the priest quickly identified something, and what he said is, "What is your routine?" I said, "I don't have a routine.
Mm.
Do not have a routine. I wake up when I want to wake up. I'm looking ceiling. I'm on social media. At some point, I'm thinking like I was just aloof. And then he said, "We need to get you to have a routine." If anybody's listening to this, if you're watching, one of the first steps that would help you is to get back into a routine because a routine kind of rewires your mind and helps you do something or look forward to doing something. So what
Yeah.
so for me, what the routine was my friends, both of them have now decided that they were going to pray with me and
Mhm.
encourage me to go apply for jobs.
Yeah.
The other person, I'll say how I started. The first time I went back to my laptop, but what they did was the friend would pray with me. The priest would pray with me at 10 a.m. because he was in Nigeria, so the time difference. So 10 a.m. my time, and then he would say, "Okay, are you well, done praying? Go and have breakfast." And then he said, "Then you can pray with your friend at noon." So I would pray with the priest at 10 a.m. I would have breakfast if there was breakfast, and then I would pray with my friend at noon. We continued this routine for This was in April. We continued it up until August. Two
Mm.
people who consistently prayed with me and encouraged me to go to my. So after my friend prays with me at noon, she would say, you know what? Try and go and see how many applications you can do today. These people
Mm.
continued every day for April, May, June, July, August for 4 months. And that was how I started getting it. But the very first day that I got up to my laptop was when my uncle called me and said he went for a job interview. And for that job interview, they looked at his resume and they said, oh, no, you should be applying for a senior nursing manager position instead, or assistant nursing manager position instead, not just a regular nurse. And he was surprised. He was like, "That's not what I applied for." Hey, you know what? We're going to interview you based off the assistant nurse manager description, and that's how he was interviewed based on that. And then he called me and told me he got the job. And he
Wow.
said, so I remember him clearly saying, "You never know what is out there for you." He said,
Mm.
Malumi, get up, you never know. After that good news I heard from my uncle, I went straight to my laptop and I started revamping my resume. That was the first time. Now, that's not to say that that was the time I started applying. No, I only tried to revamp my resume that day. That was a big step, in my
Mm.
opinion. So that was enough for me to, take that step. And of course, it took me days later to now start throwing out or sending out those applications. So yeah,
Mm.
that's how I started, or how I got motivated to start looking again.
Mm.
The next question: what rejection email hurt the most?
Okay, so good question. To be fair, I tell people when you're in a desperate moment, every rejection hurts. Because you're constantly looking forward to something, and for every rejection, it's like a slap on the back, right? It's you're anticipating, you're expecting something, you're desperate. It's different from when you're applying for a job while you have one already. So
Absolutely.
every rejection for me was a hit.
Back to back.
Back to back. But I would say there was one that really stood out for me. It was something similar to what I was looking for. It was very close to what I was willing to do. Like I had interest in that field. I submitted application. It was within my location. I was so excited. I never knew that job even existed within the organization. So it was more like, okay, maybe God decided to pull me back to get this. I was thinking I was just spiritualizing
Yes.
everything,
Oh, yes.
trying to look at the positive side of everything, right?
Absolutely.
And applied, I got called for interview. I was super excited. I did all the necessary preparation. I got there. To my greatest surprise, it wasn't an interview, it was a discussion.
Mm.
Imagine going into an interview room and all they could ask you was about your previous job, how they knew someone from your previous job, how they worked there before,
Oh,
how the
wow.
person is still working there, is that other person still working there? That was all the question. I was like, okay, so where is the technical aspect of the interview? It was non-existent, and that
Wow.
was the end of the interview. I waited, based on personal connections and, obviously the way the interview went, it was quite friendly. It was more of we talking about the job itself rather than interviewing for the job. It was a discussion about, okay, so this is what you're going to be doing. Okay, so this is where you're going to be sitting. And I was like, it felt like it was real. It felt like the job was mine already, right? And I waited, I sent follow-up emails, trying to see what's up, like what's the status of my application. And up to date, I never got any feedback. That was the
Mm.
saddest rejection. That wasn't an actual rejection.
I know.
So some rejections are worse than rejections.
I
So, but
know.
yeah, I mean that was it for me. When you're anticipating, you're waiting, and you just
Yeah.
never comes. That's really sad.
Yeah, that sucks. For me, I had a lot of rejections, and I had a lot of rejections that hurt me because when you're going through a job loss, you're already trying to keep your mental state in a particular level. And then it seems like with each rejection, your mental health dips. So for
Yeah.
me, it was a lot of rejections, and for me, it was worse because I was getting interviews. I was getting through stages of interviews. I was getting to third stages, fourth stages, only to get a rejection email. So yes, I got a lot of rejections that made me tank many
Mm.
times. But I know two significant ones that I can remember, and I'll share them now. The very first one that really, really broke me was the one that I was so it like it I'd never seen a job that aligned with all that I had done in the past. So be it operations, so the job was so as if it was tailored to me, my name and my experience. Yes, and the interviews went well. I went through first stage, second stage, third stage. It was the final stage with the vice president that, was the last stage. And I was told that I was one of two people. So I was excited, only for me to get a call from them. I was excited. I thought from the HR. I was excited. I thought, oh, great. Only for her to say it was a feedback call, giving me feedback that they were looking for someone that had more leadership experience. And I'm like, did I answer the questions or not? And then there was a second thing that she said that, like, God, there was a question that they were expecting me to be more detailed about for me to show that I showed how I handled it. But when they asked a question of how I handled the negative side, the flip side of it. That's how it was worded. I didn't give more details. Why didn't you ask me to give more details? Anyway, I took it not in good faith.
Yeah. It's
not in
never
good,
in good,
not
especially
in
at the
good
time.
faith. I went
Yeah.
back and I was sad. I was like, I'm tired. And this brings me to a point before I say the next story. When you're tired, please take a break. I know that there's a tendency to keep churning out those applications. You want to keep going, you want to keep doing interviews, but when you're tired, you can't give of yourself fully. You would not be
Yeah.
whole to attend those interviews. So it's okay to take a break for a few days. If you have the luxury, if you have the opportunity, hang out with friends, hang out with family, then come back to it. It will help you better. Anyway, the second rejection that shook me, and this was the time I cried out to God and I said, God, my soul cannot take another rejection. I literally said it, and I said it to one of my friends, and one of my friends was scared. He told me later on that when I was on the call with him saying that I cannot take my soul, this is how I said it, my soul cannot take another rejection. He told his wife that he was scared that I was going to commit suicide. And so he was like, oh my goodness, I hope this will not lead Louisa to commit. I laughed later when he said that, like, because at that point, it was, so I was now left with two that this was after 8 months already. So I was left with two that I was hoping for. And the call that made me say that was one out of the two, the director called me. As I saw a call. Why would the director be calling me if not for good news? Well, I was excited. I'm like, oh, hello, yeah, director calling from blah blah blah. I'm calling to say that we really appreciate your responses. They were good. Okay, cut the chase, ma'am. And unfortunately, we went with the other candidates. What? And I'm like, okay, all right. Of course, you have to stay professional. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Wish you good luck in your next blah blah blah. Thank you. As soon as that call dropped, I cried my life out, and I said, God, my soul cannot take another rejection. And the next one it was the interview for my job that I have now. So God
Oh, there,
truly,
there, there was a reason why the other one didn't work and why this is where you are currently. So yeah,
there
every
was
disappointment uh, has its own reason, right? There's certainly
absolutely
some.
Absolutely, but it it makes me say that I think that point I had reached my breaking point and something had to give. And God was kind enough to step in right there and then. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think we've talked over what rejection email hurt. This, a lot hurts. However, There are some that hurt more than others, especially when you are advanced in stages of interviews. Did you ever consider changing industries completely?
Oh, so well, changing industries within like in the period of the struggle, I don't think that was something. Yeah, I did actually. Yes, let me be honest. Um, excuse me. I remember taking a course at that time because I was trying not to be idle, so I enrolled in a program that occupied my time. I remember trying to switch to tech. Like I was trying to do a transition into tech, and I did a course on data analytics with a couple friends. And it was quite it was quite engaging at that particular point in time. We had classes, we had projects, we had presentations that kept me busy, kept me on my toes. I had something doing on the side, and that kind of like gave me that sense of responsibility. I didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
like I was jobless at some point because I had something to do. And of course, if you're doing a transition from one field into another, you definitely need to put in more effort. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I consider changing industries. I did consider moving into a new field, which I'm currently still working on. Let me put it that way. But yeah, it was one of those things that actually happened to me that gave me that sense of, okay, you could actually use this time, could maximize the opportunity you're having at this time, to learn something that could launch you into a new life entirely. Because that was one
Mm-hmm.
of the things. Take this as an opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity that you might never come across again. Because the moment you step back into the career world, you probably wouldn't have a
The
vacation that is.
chance.
So yeah, I took it as an
Absolutely.
opportunity then to pick up new skills, to do some networking on on LinkedIn, you know, just learn as much as I was able to learn at that particular time. Yeah, it was a great time. I mean, to be very honest, I'm grateful for that time. Even in the middle of everything, I'm still grateful for that time because I learned something I would never have had the chance to learn if I was busy with my job. If I had a job, I'll probably never have the chance to learn those things.
Okay. All right, good, 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 good stuff.
Yeah,
For me, I would say because I already have or had a diverse background. I still have a diverse background. Worked in operations, worked in healthcare, worked in administration, so worked in education. And so because I already had those diverse backgrounds, it was easy for me to look into these different industries. So I was looking into different industries regardless. I had just come out of the healthcare industry, but I was looking into operations, I was looking into administration, I was looking into healthcare. Thankfully, I got something in healthcare that I've always wanted to, anyways. But I definitely considered. Not even consider. I worked on sending my resumes, revamp my resumes to fit into these
so
industries. Mm-hmm. All right. Did you find job hunting harder than expected?
that's a very good question. To be fair, aside from the fact that when you're looking for something, it looks harder. When you're desperately looking for something, it comes to you as a big chore
Mm-hmm.
because at that point you're doing everything, you're overdoing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's
Yes.
for. Other than that, it was harder because it was a difficult time
Yes.
last year.
Yes.
You know, time where statistics was showing that Canada was having their all-time highest unemployment rate.
Yes.
It was showing that they were going through severe recession.
Yes.
And to be fair, like if I could recall correctly, I would go on job sites, I would refresh every day. I would see this
I remember
exact.
you telling me.
It was crazy.
Yes.
I was seeing that same job every single day. I'd applied to. In fact, I could tell you the jobs that I was going to meet on the job site every day because
Mm-hmm.
I had seen them before. Right, so I'd applied to almost all the jobs on the job site, at least in my field at that time. It was so hard getting responses from recruiters. In fact, getting a call from a recruiter was more of a joy than even getting a call for interview
Yeah.
because it was very almost impossible at that time to get a call from recruiters. So if you ever got a call, it shows you're doing something really, really well,
Mm.
right? And I was kind of relating that experience to before the job loss when I was interviewing every month.
Oh wow.
Like tell you the frequency of interviews I got before that time. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, before I did my transition into a new, before I applied for a new job into a new company where I eventually got laid off, it was much more frequent than that. I was interviewing every month for several positions, and all
Oh.
of a sudden, time I lost my job, it felt like there were no jobs. All of a sudden, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this feels like people from home.
I
Because
know.
why is it when, like, why was it that was when I lost my job, it was almost impossible to get interview calls. If I
Mm.
was getting interview calls, even if I was getting rejection, at least I could be rest assured that one of them was going to work. But in a case where you're applying, the few interview calls that you got, you're still getting rejection.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult to even get one to start with. So it
Mm.
was really hard time. It was more challenging. It was more difficult. I kept on advising people, whatever job you have, please hold on
Hold
to
on
it.
to it.
It's not. It wasn't the best time at all. Even till now, I don't think
Even
it
to
has really,
now. No, it
really. But
hasn't. Yeah.
back was, I bet, I tell you, it was worse. There was nothing, almost nothing on the job site anymore. It was crazy. You
Hmm.
know, it was really tough.
Yeah. The same goes for me. It was really tough because, again, like you had mentioned, it was a another global pandemic, so to speak. It was crazy. It was not just in Canada. I had friends in the UK, in the US, who had just been laid off, who were looking for new jobs. So it was a global problem. And so I remember going on LinkedIn and seeing jobs reposted. In fact, one particular job was that I went through the interview, like 4 interview stages, and I saw just right after a month that they reposted that job. So it was a time where employers were also trying to form an image that they were recruiting or hiring, or in actual fact, they were just interviewing for interview's sake. So you see
Yeah, they
jobs
were,
on LinkedIn, yeah,
yeah.
and they were not actual jobs. They were like dummy or ghost jobs. So
Hmm.
last year was a I think it's still the same, but I haven't looked as much because I'm in a new job, right? However, it's still people I know people who are still looking for jobs from last year, from 2 years
Yeah,
ago, who are still looking for jobs. So yes,
yeah,
it's a different time right now. The job market
yeah,
is a different has a different feel to it right now. It's been in the past 2 years, and I'm hoping that something gives. I'm hoping that something changes because
yeah.
we can't continue like this forever, right?
That's one of the things I really thought about. I'm like, even till now, if you have your job, if you have something you're okay with, put in your best. It's the market out there is not the best.
Yeah,
Losing your job time like this
it's
is
not.
like to one of the biggest confusions of your life,
Yeah,
right? It's sad. The market is not
it's not
encouraging.
friendly. It's not smiling.
I started exploring the US market.
I
I was
did
submitting
too. I did as
applications.
well.
It was very frustrating here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really a hard time. I have to be very honest with you.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna move to into like a kind of fun part, but again, the social media factor. When you posting
Mm.
about your layoff, did you post announce it on LinkedIn?
Well, to be fair, no. I mean, to make it worse, I blocked most of the people because it was more of me trying to start all over again, right? So
Yeah.
it was for me. It was more of a mental thing. I needed to like clear the past and focus on the future. So the
Mm-hmm.
whole concept of posting on LinkedIn, announcing it wasn't really necessary for me
Mm-hmm.
because I don't I didn't see anyone get a new job by posting. So why should I do that? It's like telling the world my problem when they have no solution. So the
Mm-hmm.
best I could do my thing myself. Those that needed to be contacted, I mean, privately, I did all the contacting, and that was just it for me. But announcing, no, I didn't explore that part.
Okay. Well, to be fair, some people have had to. I've seen some posts on LinkedIn announcing layoffs, and then some people repost and they say, "Oh, repost to your network. I'm looking for a job." So for some people, they may have gotten some good benefit from that, some good connections. However, I was too distraught to post on LinkedIn at the time. I did not.
Mhm.
I did not post, but like I said, I had saw posts on LinkedIn related to job And one thing I must mention is because I was now reading through those posts on LinkedIn regarding layoffs, when I go on LinkedIn, I would now see more of those kinds of posts because of the algorithm. So I was soaking myself in those narratives or those posts. Another thing that I was also doing mentally was following up with my boss. I was going through her LinkedIn to see what was going on with the business. And I know my friend said I should block her, but I don't know. For some reason, I didn't. I still have her on my
Well,
LinkedIn.
I don't know how people handle things. It's just like breakup too. I don't know how people handle those things. Some people find it um neutral to have those people in their lives. While some would
Cut
just
off
have
all ties.
to start again. Like I said, it was a mental thing for me.
Yes.
So from my previous the
Mm-hmm.
previous job, all of this pain I was going through, and focus on what I needed to go through. Right. While some people don't have problems with that, they don't
Mm-hmm.
mind still seeing posts, still seeing the activity. It
Yeah.
was for me that was going to be too much of burden, stress. You know, it's going to keep me at the door staring at what I lost rather than focus
Yeah.
ahead of me. So yeah,
Okay.
it's handled differently.
Okay. Um. All right. We're gonna move straight on to coping strategies, the good and the bad. How did you handle the sudden free time and stress? We've touched on it a bit, but yeah, what was one healthy thing that you started doing after the layoff?
Yeah. So like I said, one good thing I did was picking up new skills, right? Enrolling in a program that kept me busy, like it kept me mentally busy, right? I wasn't just sitting down at home thinking too much about the problem. I had a group of friends who were also enrolled in the same program. So it was more like I went back to school. So that gave me some sort of like
Sense of
mental
purpose.
thinking or processing the loss. Yeah, that was so simple. That was my biggest coping strategy, like my biggest coping strategy. And also having people, family and friends call, gist, those things were really, really helpful. But to be fair, like I said, the bad strategy was some morning I would wake up, I'll walk to a park and I'll see people going to work.
Oh
Well,
my
would I
goodness.
bad? It wasn't bad, but it was causing me more depression seeing people living
Um,
the kind of life I was aspiring to go back to. But yeah, it could be different. I mean, it could be interpreted differently. But for me at that time, I felt like all I needed was for me to like kind of just sit back and find a way to get myself back on track.
okay. Good. For me, one healthy thing I would say is to start that routine that I started, right? I had to start that routine, the routine of prayer for people who are religious, for people who, have a God that they look up to. For me, it was something good. It kept me going. The support of my friends also, keeping those relationships, speaking with them, that was really helpful. I cannot overemphasize that. I keep saying it. The support of my friends, keeping in touch with them helps me because they reminded me of who I truly was or I truly am. One of the not so healthy coping mechanism for me is, like I said, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I was gulping down a lot of soda, a lot of pop, and I don't think I'm even still recovered because I'm still addicted to pop and soda. So God help me. So that's a not so healthy um habits or coping mechanism that, yeah, I was into. Did you learn a new skill or binge Netflix for weeks? You learned a new skill. What I also
Yeah.
did was, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I was, thankfully, one of my best shows was showing around that time, Big Brother
Mm.
Niger. So I'd never in my life been that invested in Big Brother, even if I'm a big fan, but I was watching it day and night.
Apologies to those who watch it, but it's safe to say it's for jobless people. But I don't
Well, I have a job now and I still watch it. Oh, well, you can say whatever you want to say, but I get it. But truly, I was truly jobless, so I could follow every single thing. In fact, my friend and I owned a page that was, discussing about different things that was happening in the house, and we were arguing a lot about the different things. Like, it was so toxic. So yeah, I don't know if it was a good distraction, yes,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
sometimes toxic. So yeah, no.
Well, anyway, like whichever way, whatever distract you, whatever could help you, take your eyes off the problem at that time. You know,
Yeah. But be careful, don't go into really bad things. There's certain things that you could definitely go into that you have.
not talk those ones on camera, right?
Let's keep those ones in the cabinet.
Yeah, when we're doing confession, we'll go and discuss that.
All right, we're gonna go straight into lessons learned. What do you wish you had done before the layoff?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I think this is also going to be very informative, and it will be a sort of advice to people who kind of have a job right now, and some of the things that the lessons I've learned from these things that you could possibly do before layoff. One of the biggest advice I can give to anyone is to not rely on one job. I know that's crazy, but having one stream of income is like putting your life on the lifeline.
Hmm.
It's like putting all your hope on something,
In one
right? And
basket.
the moment that's been taken off, it feels like your entire life is taken
Depending
with it.
on it. Yeah,
So it's always good to think, even if you haven't figured something out yet, it's always good to have that mindset of, I can't rely on just one job. Even if it's something passive, something you do maybe just once in a week, twice a week that brings you money, something that's, can just give you like a passive stream of income. It's good to have,
absolutely.
right? Even if it's a skill that you're going to learn that will give you that passive stream of income, it's always good to have, because when you face such disappointments, those are the things that you can fall back to. Those are the
Absolutely.
keep you going. A good example is something as basic as learning how to drive. If you don't know how to drive, you can switch to Uber. You can do food delivery. Something as simple as learning how to plait hair, cut hair. Like, these are side hustles. Things that you
Mhm.
can do, give you something on the side, as compared to not having any skill, not having any stream of income. It weighs you down more. You don't have any other ways of making money,
Yeah.
and that's sad, right? So
Mhm.
that's one of my, let me say, that's my biggest advice to anyone that has a job right now. I don't pray anything bad happens, but it's always good to have a backup plan.
Absolutely. 100%. No matter how nice, how awesome your work employers are, your work colleagues are, no matter how, I would say plan for a plan B, like Benro has said, plan for a second stream of income. It could be online, it could be social media, like we're doing, it could
Mhm.
be anything. But one thing that it taught me or it pushed me to do is to look into a big plan B that I had been putting off for the longest. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag right now,
Or
but
maybe not.
not now, but it pushed me to something very significant. And yeah, I'm glad somehow, in a way, I'm glad that that happened, because if that did not happen, I wouldn't
Mhm.
take that step. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. I'll come again to announce about, the second step. But again, a plan B is always very important. Vero
Yeah,
has touched earlier on the need to have an emergency fund. If there's
important.
anything, even if it's a certain percentage or a low percentage of your income, please set it aside for an emergency fund. I had it previously the year before I lost my job. It's very, very necessary. When people say you should at least have 6 months of your income in emergency fund in case